All right, today we're going to talk about the hand grinder, portable hand grinder. This is a Metabo 4.5-inch grinder. So when we go over this, it's important that you guys pay attention because this is one of those tools that might actually get you hurt out here in the shop. We're going to put the guard on it. The guard has to be on the grinder at all times. And then it needs to be adjusted in a way that the sparks don't come back and hit you. Okay? So it's on there. There's a little lever right here that'll adjust it. You can put the guard wherever you want. Most of the time, 99% of the time, the guard goes right here so the sparks as you're grinding doesn't come back and hit your shirt. Also have to have a handle. Some people like them on the right. Some people like them on the left. If you guys probably like them here on the right. Here's the on and off switch. Power on, power off. This particular model locks the switch in the on position when it's pushed all the way forward. So if I went and plug this in right now, the grinder is going to turn on. So one of the safety questions is to make sure that you do not have the trigger lock or the on-off switch in the lock position. That would be locked, so if you plug it in, it's going to just take off. Handle, cord restrainer. This here is your cord. You should never get the cord over here where you might get it in the grinder. Always inspect your cord. This is a brand new wheel. This goes down. Goes right in that slot. Now we have different wheels. We have a cutoff wheel, real thin. Okay. We have a hard grinding disc. This here is a ferrous grinding wheel. Ferrous is metals that contain iron. Non-ferrous is metals that do not contain iron. This is such as aluminum. This is a non-ferrous flap, F-L-A-P, flap disc. So if you was going to grind non-ferrous metals, you have to use the flap disc. Everybody see that? If you're going to grind steel or ferrous metals, you have to use a hard disc. Okay? If you try to grind non-ferrous metals on a ferrous grinding wheel, it will plug the pores up in your ferrous grinding wheel and it will build up heat and it could violently explode. Okay? So which one are you going to grind aluminum with? Which one are you going to grind steel with? There's a big price difference. Okay, this in here is about 8 or 10 times more cost than this one. So which one are we going to use? This. The grinding wheel, each one of these has a paper blotter. B-L-O-T-T-E-R. You guys remember that? On the blotter, what's some of the things that's on there is the manufacturer's name. It also tells you what type of metal could be ground on it, and it tells you the maximum RPM rating. This grinding wheel says the maximum RPM rating, revolutions per minute, is 13,300. And on your grinder, it says the maximum RPM is somewhere. We'll look here. 10,500 RPMs. And this is, what I tell you, 13,000. So this is 10,000 and your grinding wheel is rated to up to 13,000. So this wheel will go just right on here. I'm recording this son, so you just have to wait for I'm done. Okay? Appreciate it. So whenever you put your grinding wheel on, the paper blotter that tells you all the information goes down, and this nut, you can see there's a flat side to it and there's a raised side. It has a little raised side. When you're using a regular grinding wheel, the raised side goes down. Now some people tell you to use the grinding wheel wrench. I usually don't. There's a button right here on the back. You push it and listen for the click. Now you can tighten it. That locks the spindle shaft tight. As you're grinding, a lot of times that nut might get tighter as you grind. So whenever you get ready to take the grinding wheel off, you push this button and turn the wheel till it locks again. Now when it's locked, then you can take the wrench if you need to and loosen it. Take it off. Put a sanding disc on, or a flat disc. What's the flat? The flat disc is used for grinding non-ferrous metals such as aluminum. This time we're going to put the raised part up and we're going to use the flat part. Ready to go. This is for grinding non-ferrous metals such as aluminum. A hard disc is used for grinding ferrous metals such as steel. This is a cutoff wheel. Each one of these wheels has their paper blotter and all the information that you need with it. A cutoff wheel is for maybe for cutting material. Instead of grinding it, we're going to cut it. Put it on the same way, thin side down. Adjust your guard. Okay. When you hold a grinder, you hold it with two hands when you're using it. Okay. You let the grinder do the work. You're not making the grinder work you. You're letting the grinder do the work. Okay. We'll put all these on here in just a second. Got one more. This is a wire wheel. With the wire wheel, we'll take this piece off. The nut goes down. The idea with the wire wheel is that you want to make sure that the wires are down underneath the guard. See how it's in there? You don't want the wire wheel above the guard. It's got to be shielded by the guard. A wire wheel, when you're holding a wire wheel grinder, you got to be ready for it to bounce around a little bit, because it'll kind of bounce around. You have to really hold on to it. And this wire wheel, if it gets caught in your loose clothing, it'll just suck it right up against you. So you have to be careful. Okay? So anytime you get ready to use a grinder, you need to have your at least long sleeve shirt on. I would rather you wear your welding jacket. Button the front of it up so you don't get it caught in it. Wear your gloves. I'll show you, demonstrate how to use the wire wheel maybe. You might use the wire wheel if you was grinding, and maybe instead of chipping and wire brushing with a manual wire brush, you might come over here and use a wire wheel on the grinder. So anytime you're using this, you have to have your safety glasses on, right? Sir, hand me that clear face shield over there. When you're using the wire wheel especially, you have to have a clear face shield. I can catch it if you can feel it. All right. Clear face shield. What do you think might happen if one of these pieces of wire shoot out here at about 2,000 RPM? It's going to stick in you, right? So make sure that you're not in the aisle where somebody be coming by. Put your face shield down. We'll turn it on. Wait till the grinder or the wire wheel stops. Okay? When you get ready to change wheels, you probably should unplug it. And you can take it off with That's the wire wheel. We just basically buffed it. I'll show you the cutting wheel, and all these nuts go back on. This one goes just like that. It falls down in a little slot. Do a cutting wheel. Smooth side down. You know if these are right or wrong is when you tighten them and the wheel's tight. You got it on the right way. So let's just take a piece of round bar. We'll cut a little piece off of it. Make sure when you lay the grinder down, this here's the tool rest part. It goes just like that. Setting just like that. The switch is off. Make sure when you're grinding too, you don't get the cord in the way. See how that's bad? Keep the cord over here out of the way. A lot of times if you put it behind you, put the face shield down. How we cut that off. This is not meant for grinding. This is for cutting. This thin edge is the edge that you're going to use to work with. Okay? Let me change grinding wheels. That was the cutoff wheel. Now we'll put a hard grinding wheel on, or a wheel. See how that's a little bit tough now? I'm going to push my finger here. Locked it. Take the wrench. Loosen it, take it off. We'll put a Ferris grinding wheel on with that raised area down. And when you're grinding, you need to make sure that the sparks go toward the ground. So I'll show you a couple examples of how not to do it. So if I wanted to grind on this side, if I ground right here, see how the sparks are pointed toward the ground? If I come on this side, now it's the same side, but now look where that spark is going. That would be incorrect. So the correct way is to have the sparks going toward the ground, right? And all I did was change my position. Here they're going up, here they're going down. So the way that would be correct is for them going down. I'll do it one more time. To adjust this guard, shut that door. To adjust this guard, you push this finger down and you can adjust it. When should you adjust it? When this is done. Never adjust it while the grinder is running. Okay? Now we'll do a sanding disc, flat disc. This grinding wheel is made for what type of metal? Aluminum. This would be non-ferrous. Plug it back in, get us a piece of aluminum. Same thing applies here. You want not going to have much sparks, but you want any of the product coming off of it to be going down. When you're grinding, you don't want to force the grinder onto the piece. You want to let the grinder do the work. So in this case, I'll push too hard, and you can tell how I start dogging the motor down. That's no good. Here we go. Now, what I was doing is I was pushing it too hard. No good. This is the correct way. Let the grinding wheel do the work. So, kind of to recap what we talked about the 4.5-inch grinding, 4.5-inch grinder. With the grinder, we have 4 different wheels we could use. We have a flap, FLAP disc. Okay, that's meant to be ground on non-ferrous metals. A hard disc, that's to be ground on ferrous metals or metals that contain iron, like steel. A cutting wheel. The cutting wheel can be used on ferrous or non-ferrous metals. Okay? And then you have a wire wheel. This here is what we would use maybe if we was going to wire brush our welds. Okay, thank you very much.